Hey guys, welcome back to Hook with Anime. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Let's begin. It all started when a luminescent baby was born, and not long after, many other people started to develop strange and magnificent abilities. With the rise of these abilities came a rise in criminal activity, and with the government in disarray, humanity seemed to be in despair. But with the rise of crime came a new profession, one that we once thought of being realistic in comics: heroes. Over time, more and more people started to gain these so-called abilities that we now call quirks. Now, 80% of the world's population have these quirks, having the opportunity for many great things. But the other 20% who don't have the power of others are forced to live as how the world began. People weren't born equal. That's what I learned at the young age of 4. Stop it, Kachan. He's already crying, cried a green-haired boy who was shaking in his red-colored shoes. Said boy was currently standing in front of the kid with his fists up, trying his best to look less scared than how he looked. Duh. Who? Always trying to be the hero. You're just a quirkless loser wannabe. What are you gonna do? Kachan said with his arms crossed, looking at the boy with a mischievous look in his eyes, an evil smirk across his small childlike face. Then all F5 fight you. Kachan only laughed at his former childhood friend, before creating small explosions from his palms. The boy who was being protected had got up and ran not long after, seeing as this was his change to escape. Deku, as he was formerly called, who had been beaten up worse than the one he was supposedly protecting, now laid down with small scratches and scorch markings across his body. It was at this time that he could see a person block out the sun, casting a shadow to swallow up the boy. The last thing he saw was what looked like 2 horns and white hair before he fell unconscious. A while ago, in a dense forest dozens of kilometers away from any city, a man of unknown origin stepped out of a portal, which soon disappeared, and took in his surroundings. He was 6.5 feet tall with long white hair, pale skin and 2 horns on his head. He had icy blue eyes and 3 whisker marks on his cheek. He was wearing a white t-shirt with the kanji for food and black anbu pants along with combat boots. Over all of that, he had on a black cloak and hood that seemed to reach down to his feet and wrapped around his whole body. He took in a deep breath, enjoying the fresh and clean air, reminding him of his former home world. Why don't we look for a place to collect information, since we know nothing of this world? A deep rumbling voice echoed through the man's head. You're right. Information is key, and we know nothing of the world, so why don't we take a look from the sky? Without another word, he did a hand sign and he took to the sky, zeroing on the closest place with people. After a few minutes of high-speed flying, the mysterious person came across a place he had never seen before. Tall metal buildings that touched the sky, and loud machine noises came from the city below. It would seem that these people are more advanced in technology than back home, but I can feel they have power, except it's different from chakra. There's nothing to do, then go and see up close, kitten, a female voice said. Just don't do anything reckless, brat. We don't know what these people can do. The deep and gruff voice said, getting a chuckle from the man. Don't you worry, Furball, and Matabi, you're right. Heading down into an alleyway and stepping out into the crowded streets, he was speechless to how different the people here were. People really do come in different shapes and sizes, even species too, was what he thought, glancing at everyone. While he did see normal people talk with some weird square thing, there were also some who were every color of the rainbow and some with what looked like animal features. Some even had plant-like features or something. He was beyond surprised, but decided to find a place where he could sit and gather useful information. Seeing a cafe that was part of the ally, he walked in and was immediately hit with an overwhelming smell. Good afternoon, sir. Are you here to carry out, or would you like a table to sit at? A sweet and soft voice said, giving his attention to her. A table, please. The waitress immediately blushed at hearing the gentle and deep voice. All right, this way. After being seated, she handed him a small menu before she quickly scurried away. At least we speak the same language, thank Kami for that. He said, chuckling to himself. Now let's see what they have here. Quickly looking over and waving the lady from before, He gave her his order before he chuckled again as she hurriedly went to do it. Arriving with his cup of coffee and a small plate of cake, he thanked her, but before he could dig in, he and others could feel a weird sensation come over them. Making sure no one could see him, he quickly grabbed the sweets and disappeared, forgetting all about the coffee. He had no idea where he was going but was following the weird sensation, like it was calling him to somewhere or someone. Arriving at what looked like a children's park, that was when he saw it, a child no less than 4 or 5, on the ground beaten. He could still see the children he most likely knew beat up the kid, but knew he couldn't really do anything. Focusing on the feeling that he could feel coming from the child, he walked up and saw he was barely holding on to concessions before he closed his eyes. "What do you guys think?" he said, picking up the boy and setting him down on a bench in the shade. "He reminds me of you, Naruto. Ha 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 ha. Like you're any better, Kurama. Who was the one who got their ass beaten? Huh, yeah, you." Naruto said, knowing how to get under the furball's chakra fur. "Why you?" "Enough, Kurama," a female voice said, this one a deeper one than previously. "Don't take his side, Yuki. It's because you haven't been with him since day one. But you still lost against him nonetheless, and yes, I can feel something different about this child than the other humans and hybrids of this world," Kokuo said, seeing her sisters chuckle at their older and obviously more powerful brother. It wasn't long before the boy woke up, instantly knowing he had fainted on the ground but feeling the wooden bench he laid on. "I'm glad you woke up when you did, as it can be quite dangerous for a child to walk in the dark." Turning to look at the cloaked man, the child started to tense up and got scared. "IMFF fine. I should G get home SS so on." Jumping off the bench, the young green-haired boy cried out, forgetting about the injuries he had gotten when he was beaten by his supposed friend. "Careful, you're still injured. How about you hip on my back and you show me the way to your house?" Naruto could see the uncertainty on his face, and he could understand. How would you react if a stranger asked you where you lived? "How about this? Why don't we introduce ourselves? I'm Uzumaki Naruto, and you are." After a few seconds of silence and deliberation, he introduced himself. "Midoriya Izuku. Nice to meet you, Midoriya-san, you can just call me Naruto," he said, still having his body covered by black cloak. Izuku, now feeling less nerves, nodded his head. "Why do you wear that cloak, Naruto?" Chuckling to himself, he reached up and took off the hood to show his face. "It's so my eyes don't get itchy, since they're sensitive to the sun." Izuku just nodded, not put off by his non-human looks. "Now I'm sure by now someone's going to get worried if their son ain't home soon. My mom is going to be so worried." Hopping on Naruto's back, Izuku gave him directions and off they went. After a few minutes of walking, they arrived at a 2-story apartment complex. "I'm on the 2nd floor, door 205. Walking up the flights of stairs, he arrived and knocked on the door. It was immediately swung open, revealing a tall, slender woman with green hair and eyes, worried in her eyes. Setting Izuku down, the woman quickly brought him into a bone-crushing hug, tears glancing down her face. "It's okay, Mom. This man carried me here after I fell down today." Naruto frowned, not understanding why he would lie to his mother after he was beat up, and his mother also seemed to notice but said nothing. "Why don't you go get washed up, Izu, and I'll patch you up in a little bit." Rushing into the bathroom, it was Naruto and the boy's mother, an awkward silence in the air. "Please come in, I got tea and cookies made. It's the least I can do after bringing my Izu home." Nodding his head, she led Naruto in through the living room and into the dining room kitchen. "I'm Midoriya Inko, and I would like to thank you for bringing my son back home." "Uzumaki Naruto, and it's no problem. But how long have you known he was being bullied?" When he saw Inko wince, he knew he asked a sensitive question. "I was assuming you knew, and I know he lied to you so you don't have to worry, but it started last year when he was diagnosed quirkless. It's rare but not uncommon. I didn't know at first, but about a month later, he started to show up with scuffle marks and injuries, and whenever I asked him, he would smile and say he had fallen while playing. At first I believed him, as he used to play out in the woods, but he stopped bringing friends over and going over to theirs, and I could see he was putting on a brave face for me, but to know that he wanted to protect me, tears were sliding down her cheeks, and Naruto did the only thing he could do. Placing his hand on top of her, she looked into his icy blue eyes and saw compassion and a form of understanding. It may not be my place to say this, but I believe he still holds on to his dream and doesn't want to let go, even if it means hiding his pain from you. It's hard being a single mother, a parent no less, but I know you're doing your best. I was an orphan and had no one to be there for most of my life, but you have each other, and that is all that matters. Seeing a smile grace her lips somehow made his heart skip a beat, but he had no time to think on it as he heard footsteps making their way to them. I finished cleaning up, Mom, Izuku said, a smile on his face when he saw that Naruto hadn't left yet. Can Naruto stay for dinner? We can then watch the video after. Can he? Inko glanced as their guest, as if asking if it was alright. Why not? I don't have anything planned soon. Izuku sprouted the widest smile Inko had seen in a very long time, and even herself was glad to have someone over that gave her such a calm and relaxed atmosphere. I'll get dinner ready. Why don't you take Uzumaki-san to your room? I'll call you guys once it's done. The greenette wasted no time and was pulling the white-haired man to his room. That night was filled with laughter and excitement, which had been absent from the household. Inko had just finished dishes and had found the two boys asleep by the child's computer, with Izuku asleep on Naruto's lap. Grabbing a blanket and placing it over them, Inko exited the room, thanking whatever God for sending their white-haired savior. Early next morning, Inko had just woken up and was surprised by the delicious smell that was in the air. Still in her pajamas, she made her way towards the kitchen, where she saw Izuku and Naruto putting pancakes and eggs on plates. Hope you don't mind me borrowing the kitchen. Inko let out a small eep at being found out, surprised as he hadn't turned around to look at her. It was then that she noticed he didn't have his cloak on, as she tried and failed to keep her blush from growing. She couldn't tell with his cloak on, but he was ripped, and was shaken out of her thoughts by the sound of her son's voice. Mom, look. He made the pancakes into strange animals. Looking at the animal-shaped pancakes, she had to admit it was something she had never seen before. Stop bothering your mom, Izuku-kun, she still needs to get dressed. Naruto said before she blushed in embarrassment and ran to her room. All he could do was let out a small chuckle at how the green-haired mother was reacting. After a few good laughs and embarrassing moments, Izuku was out the door to school, leaving the two adults to themselves. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but I was wondering what happened to Izuku's father. Inko let out a sigh. Izuku was 2 when he left us, deciding we weren't enough for him. We never divorced, but we haven't spoken to each other in years. Izuku doesn't know this. All he knows is that he had never been there. Then I guess he missed out. If I had a son like your son, man, I would never want to let him down. They hadn't moved and were just stealing at the door, not wanting to break the comfortable silence. Thanks again, and I'm sorry about last night. I didn't mean to intrude. Don't worry about it. Izuku and I had lots of fun last night. I haven't seen him so happy in such a long time. I should be the one thanking you. After that, they had started doing dishes, which had Naruto washing and Inko drying. Naruto and Inko talked and laughed, and for the first time in so long, they had felt complete. At 2:45 and the duo were walking to pick up Izuku, they were focusing so much on each other, they hadn't paid attention to their surroundings. It wasn't until a hand had grabbed Inko's shoulder, snapping them back to reality. Why didn't you tell me you were going back into dating? I could have set you up, girl. The ash-blonde lady said, casting her eyes up at Naruto. He was wearing his white t-shirt and black Anbu pants and boots, but had on some black shades, covering up his eyes. The duo had instantly blushed at the misunderstanding, refusing to look at each other. And no, Mitsuki. This is Uzumaki Naruto. He just arrived yesterday. I just arrived in the city yesterday where I met her son, and you must be Bakugo Mitsuki. Inko-chan has told me a lot about you and your temper. Inko-chan. Huh. Realizing his mistake, Naruto had tried to think up an excuse but was stumbling on his words. Meanwhile, Inko was as red as a tomato but was kinda happy. I'm only teasing. But damn Inko, you sure know how to pick 'em. With a few more embarrassing comments that left them a blushing mess, and Naruto getting teased by the ninbiju, they arrived at the school just in time for the bell to ring. For some reason, Inko had started to get frustrated at the way some of the moms were looking at the man beside her, and while she knew he was drop-dead handsome, also found herself jealous. So in a moment of this newfound feeling, she grabbed Naruto's hand into hers and faced forward. She was surprised to feel him tighten his hold on her, but was glad he hadn't pulled away. Mitsuki only smirked, glad that even if they had just met yesterday, her friend had found some happiness. It wasn't long till everyone's kid came rushing out, Izuku not far from the leading pack. Mom! Naruto! They heard him shout, jumping into his mother's arms. How was school? Naruto had never been one for the academy, but had wished he had taken it more seriously. It was great. We're learning to add and subtract double and triple digits. And in science. Mitsuki was more than happy for her friend, seeing her and Izuku happy with this man, and the way he was interacting. She had seen how some men wanted to get in Inko's pants or had run away when they realized she had a kid, but with this man, it was like he was born to be a father. Uzumaki Naruto. Huh. Let's see what happens. Hours later, back at the Midoriya place. Please. Please. Please, Mom. Inko could only sigh as her son was desperately pleading with her. Why, you ask? Well, it just so happened that our white-haired Uzumaki had told them that he had nowhere to live nor any money, along with no living family relatives. He had shown to actually care for Izuku, and I couldn't remember the last time I've been so happy. And it's not like I don't want him to stay. Looking at her son and then back to Naruto, who was doing what little dishes there were for dinner, she made up her mind. If he's fine with. Before she could finish, Izuku had tackled her into a hug, one she happily turned. Later, Naruto had just exited the shower with only some green boxers that had ramen bowls on it and his white t-shirt, heading toward the living room couch. Thanks again for letting me stay. I promise to not be too much a problem. Inko just chuckled at him, and stared at his eyes. For some reason, it was as if she was flying through the sky, free and calm. I should be the one thanking you. She whispered before she got up and headed for her room. Hope you have a good night, Naruto. She said, entering and closing her door, and she could have sworn she heard him say, you too, Inko-chan. That night Inlo had the best sleep of her life, and was hoping for more nights like this. As she yawned and got up, she could hear two voices come from outside her door. It sounded like they were excited or something, and she couldn't be closer to the truth. As the door swung open, she could see Uraraka standing there with what she could see as newfound hope and fire within his eyes. Naruto himself was not far behind, but she could see the worriedness and determination in his. It's been a month since Naruto met the Midoriya family, basically becoming almost like a family. It was also within that very month that he began to train Izuku, with his mother's permission, of course. While she may have not been fully on board, she couldn't see the sadness Izuku had come back now that he had someone else to hang with, and the fact she could somehow feel like he would protect her son. Today was the day that our white-haired friend decided to tell them the truth, as he was beginning to feel like part of the family. It was an early Saturday morning, and all three were eating another breakfast made by Naruto. I need to tell you two something, and I know how ridiculous it may sound, but it's the truth. Inko could hear the seriousness as he spoke, as he was normally playful. Izuku knew the tone as he had been training with the man, and has very few times heard him like this. After giving the man their attention, he suddenly felt nervous and scared since he had actually grown the low like this family. I'm not from this world or universe. It was plain and straightforward, catching them off guard. Inko wanted this to be some type of joke, but his eyes told her he wasn't lying. He was revealing a part of him he trusted in them. What happened? Inko turned to see her son ask that question, and was surprised to see how calm and focused he was on the situation. We were in the middle of a war where all 5 enemies came together to fight a greater enemy force, protecting the one thing they knew the enemy needed. We were winning with little casualties, and we were making our way to the final battleground. We fought for what felt like days, and I watched helplessly as my friends died to the enemy. He had gripped the table halfway into the story as if he was reliving it again. In the end, I was the only one left. The 2 listeners stayed quiet the entire time, and even Izuku could tell he had not had a happy life. While hadn't understood most of it, he could understand what it felt like losing a friend. Inko couldn't even begin to imagine how he had felt, seeing his friends die, losing what little family he had with them. Naruto was so entrapped by the memories of the death and the comforting words the 9 little chakra beasts were giving him, that when he felt his hand being grabbed in a hug, he realized he wasn't alone. While he did have the Biju family, he had lost the human aspect in life, and now he had that back. He would protect them with his life and make sure they live a happy one too. Seeing a smile grace his lips made the 2 Midoriya much better, as he was normally the one who brightened their day, and now it was their turn to brighten his mood. "You're not alone anymore, Naruto-kun, you have us now," Inko said, flashing him a smile along with a pink blush. Izuku quickly agreed, nodding his little head off. "Yeah, you're stuck with us now." The 2 adults just laughed at the child's comforting words. "How could I leave you now?" he said, picking up Izuku, bouncing and turning him in the air. The sad and depressed morning was soon forgotten with laughter and happy thoughts. "Now go get changed, we have training to do." Placing a slightly dizzy Izuku down, he wobbly made his way to his room. "He really likes you, Naruto-kun," Inko said while they were doing dishes. Naruto only chuckled. "Of course, what's not to like about me? I'm amazing." Inko had no doubt he was. It was silent as they continued washing dishes in a comfortable silence. "So how about you? Do you like me?" He hadn't really meant to say it out loud, and he had reason to believe it was their doing, but it was too late now. Inko froze, and she knew she was blushing badly. Did she like him? Yes. Did her child like him? Absolutely. But before she could answer, Izuku had come out dressed and ready for training, not sensing the somewhat loving, awkward atmosphere. "I'm all ready, sensei." It was what Naruto wanted to be called when they were out training, as a sign of respect. "Good. Start doing some stretching before we head out, I'll join you in a minute." Following his command, Izuku hurried out the door to do some stretches. "About what I said, I understand if you don't feel the same, and we haven't really known each other for long, but know I will always be here for you and Izuku, Inko-chan." The level of conviction and passion and understanding this man had, Inko didn't want to lose it, not when she and her son had found a man who cared like that. Seeing him reach for the doorknob, Inko quickly used her quick to slow him down and tackled him into a hug. Since he was taller than her, the greenette only reached his lower chest, shoulder blades. "I do." Izuku had somewhat noticed the connection between his mother and Naruto, and seeing how happy he was when he joined the child, Izuku knew something happened. He was thrown out of his thinking when they arrived at their training ground. It was deep in the forest that surrounded the city, which gave them privacy and quietness from the loud and busy city. "Today will be a little different, so instead of physical training, every Saturday I will be teaching you everything I know. As you now know, I ain't from this world, but the ability I have can be counted as what you call a quirk. Sit down while I demonstrate what I have and how to use it." Izuku took a seat on one of the logs that were scattered across the field. "Now what I have is called chakra, which can be used for just about everything. Chakra is made up of one's spiritual and physical energy, and the amount a person has is different, but with enough practice and experience one can raise the total amount." Izuku was soaking everything up like a sponge, excited to learn what chakra is and what it does. Now chakra is a very dense and raw type of energy, like so. Closing his eyes, Naruto concentrated on the least amount of chakra he could and surrounded his body in it. Naruto chuckled when he saw Izuku's wide-eyed expression, clearly shocked at what he was seeing. When you have enough chakra, you can make it visible to the human eye. Now chakra is a dangerous but also helpful ability. Watch. Walking over to the nearest tree, Naruto stretched his arm back and threw a punch at the tree, breaking it in half and sending it flying. When used, it can kill. Then placing his hand on the tree, Izuku was marveled by how the tree seemed to be regrowing, and can be used to heal and help others. For the next few hours, Naruto explained the chakra circulatory system and how to access chakra. How to regulate the chakra flow around the body and how to expand one's chakra reserves. He also explained how chakra can have different properties, like how to heal almost anything from scratches in seconds to repairing a destroyed organ in minutes. By the time they finished, it was close to dinner, and if they didn't return soon, Inko would be getting worried. By the time they returned, it was close to 9 at night and the sun was beginning to set. Mom, we're home, Izuku called out, taking off his shoes at the door with Naruto following right behind him. Welcome home, boys, they heard her say from the kitchen. Go get washed up and changed, I need to talk to your mother. Nodding his head, Izuku quickly made his way to get freshen up. I see he isn't as tired today, what happened? Naruto just shrugged, taking off his jacket and put it on the chair before helping her. We just talked, he has one of the best minds I know his age. Inko just laughed knowing his surprise. I get that a lot, and I honestly don't know how he does it. Even at an early age he had started to talk and read way before other kids, but was on the slow side when it came to standing and walking. This time they both laughed at how Izuku grew up, different that was for sure. He reminds me of myself when I was small, wanting to save and protect this family and others. You raised him good, Inko-chan. Even after all this time, she still couldn't understand how he could be so honest and amazing that she blushed at every praise he made. So it's why I need to ask you this, do you believe he can be a hero? A hero that can surpass every obstacle and hurdle in his path. A hero you could be proud of. Inko didn't know what to say, but she spoke what she felt was what was needed. When we found out how he was quirkless, I gave up on him and it was one of my greatest regrets. So I stayed on the sidelines, believing he could but also wanted him to move on, scared that he could end up hurt or even. Naruto could understand her worry, and she did have a point. A life as a shinobi, even a pro hero, was never an easy job, and even then you have to do what is right for others. Then we met you. It's thanks to you that my Izu is happy and has that fire in his eyes, and I can't help but imagine him all grown and strong. It's because of you I can be sure he can overcome anything, that I can see him have a family and I can find love again. It was sudden and quick, and it surprised them by how amazing and right it felt. Was kissing supposed to feel this good? It was the one thought as they captured each other's lips. By the time they broke apart, Inko was out of breath, staring at his hypnotizing eyes. Naruto was so caught up in her eyes and the feel of her lips, he hadn't felt Izuku come and sit at the table. It was only when he caught a patch of green at the corner of his eyes that he realized they weren't alone. Inko also caught the way his eyes moved to the table, snapping straight up and backed away from the white-haired man. After a somewhat embarrassing dinner, Izuku had excused himself early, saying he wanted to get to bed early, but the wink or double blink wink didn't go unnoticed to the two. I take back what I said, he's definitely smarter than you. That got Naruto to cut the link with the beasts after hearing them laugh and start to tease him. Those questions, why did you need to ask them? At the mention of them, they both blushed at remembering the kiss that they shared and would have gotten more heated if they weren't interrupted. Ah, yeah, those. I am able to give Izuku my ability, but I needed to make sure you believed he could do it. You can do that. That great. Oh, Izuku will be so. She stopped with one look at Naruto. While yes, I can do it, our circulatory systems are different. I would need to force them to become like mine, and it'll be a very painful and horrible experience. I have thought of everything, but even with this the odds, they're at least 50-50. Inko didn't know what to say. 50-50, while not bad, weren't good either. Can you give me some time to think? Of course. I would have been worried if you didn't take a few days to think this through. Getting and grabbing the dishes, he headed towards the sink, stopping Inko. Why don't you go and head to bed early? I got dishes and food. The green-haired mother tried to argue, but she couldn't find a way to persuade him otherwise. Fine. Walking towards her room, she stopped right before closing it and she spoke just loud enough for Naruto to hear, "Best kiss of my life." Hearing a dish drop, most likely shattered, brought a smile upon her face before she closed the door. You what? Quite Mitsuki. Inko shushed her as they were out in a cafe. She had shown up at the Midoriya door when she felt like something was different, which was the reason they were out in mourning. You have only met him a little over a month ago, and you kissed him. I know, but it felt so good. Mitsuki could see her eyes glaze over as she knew Inko was remembering the feeling. The way he looks at me with those eyes and when he smiles, don't get me started on when he laughs. I didn't know a person could be so fit, and how his white hair moves when he plays with Izu. Inko stopped talking when she heard her friend laugh, not realizing what she herself was doing. You sound like you're in love, Inko-chan. What? Mitsuki just laughed harder, seeing her turn a deeper shade of red. I haven't seen you speak like this about anyone, and now this man shows up. I have honestly never seen you so chippy and bright in years, and if he kissed back like you said, he may also love you back. For some reason Inko could just see Naruto saying he loved her, and it sent delightful shivers down her back. I mean, we did say we liked each other. When does he get home with the munchkin? Around 9, and since it's Sunday I doubt he'll stay out late since it's a school night. The grin that seemed to spread across Mitsuki's face made Inko gulp, being very familiar with it. I have a plan. It was 5 minutes till 9, Inko noticed, knowing Mitsuki should have intercepted the two and grabbed Izuku. Hearing the door open, Inko straightened out her clothes, hands sweating and nerves. Did you send to grab Izuku? Inko felt better when she saw Naruto's speechless expression, a blush forming on his face. She had on one of Naruto's white shirts with a pair of her shorts that ending an inch above the knee. I thought we could spend the night alone together, if that was fine with you. How could Naruto say no when he gazed at Inko, and the way she was dressed up? Why don't you order pizza while I hop in the shower? I don't think you want a sweaty me. For some reason Inko found it hard not to blush, now not wanting him to shower, just so she could smell his forces. Inko, follow the plan. Sure. By the time you get out pizza should be here. Once out of sight, she fell to the ground, knees weak and a slight tingling in her stomach. It didn't sound this hard when Mitsuki was telling me about this. Gathering what little strength she had left, Inko grabbed the phone and ordered 2 large pizzas, then collapsed on the couch. Pizza arrived just as Naruto got out of the shower, sporting a black long-sleeved shirt and black shorts that went a little below the knees. His long white hair was in a ponytail and damp. Inko nearly dropped the pizza if the pizza man didn't catch it in time, and even he could understand why when he looked at Naruto. The pizza's on me, go get him, lady. He whispered in her ear, flashing Naruto a smile before leaving. Why don't I pick the movie? That was the last thing Inko could remember, as everything else was a blur to her. The next thing she knew, she was laying in bed staring at the ceiling. What happened last night? Shaking the sleep from her head, she started to remember. Naruto picking a movie and them laughing while enjoying the 2 pizzas, laying her head on his shoulder, then looking into his eyes, her eyes widened. Looking beside her stood another lump, clearly bigger and moving. She had kissed him, and since it was just the 2 of them she had dug deeper, a deeper did she dig. Inko soon fainted with a noticeable blush and slight smile on her face, remembering the passionate time on her bed. Naruto has started Izuku's training, mainly physical training, and is now teaching him about chakra. For those who are confused when I said they had different circulatory systems, I was talking about a whole different type, since their body can't handle the raw and dense energy not of their universe. I'll explain it more in the next chapter and more of his training. I'm getting close to ending all these happy moments, and in the next 2, I'm going to try and make it tear-jerking, so beware. There will be a longer time skip, where Izuku is 10, and also the same day everything falls apart. Yes, Inko and Naruto had some action. They don't marry at all, but they do get together, just in case anyone reading this thinks that. It's been 5 years since the Midoriya family met and welcomed in Uzumaki Naruto, and things couldn't be better. After that night, Naruto and Inko had promised to take it slow, but not a month later they started going out. Izuku had noticed how his mother and Naruto had started to get closer, and after some time, started to see him as a father figure. Besides the Midoriya house being changed to a more lively home, Izuku's training had gone up tremendously. For an almost 10-year-old boy, the greenette was already built, having a lean and well-defined body and would only sharpen up more as he grows up. Izuku was currently doing some cliff climbing in a deep trench Naruto made. His goal was to climb down and up in a total of 10 minutes, which he still hasn't done yet. 15 minutes is how long it took for you to climb down and back up again, which ain't bad, but with more practice you'll get it down to 10 minutes. Izuku was out of breath and tried, having to work out on Mondays, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 in the morning. Weekends were at 8 in the morning. We're done right now. Let's go so you can start to get ready for school. Standing up on tired legs, the 9-year boy tried to catch up to his father. Even after all this time, you're still 2. Fa. Saint, Naruto just laughed at his son and patted him on the back. Don't worry, you're still growing. You'll be faster than me in no time. After a quick shower and Naruto's special breakfast, scrambled eggs with 2 slices of French toast, a side of bacon and a protein drink, Izuku was out the door. You know it's impossible to scare me, Inko-chan. Feeling 2 arms wrap around his waist, and the body heat against his back seat shivers down his back. I'll get you one of these days, Whisker-kun. After finishing off the last of the food, they started on dishes with a comfortable silence, before Naruto cleared his throat. We both agreed on talking about this with him when got older, but I think it's time we tell him. Okay. I know you think to wait what? Placing down the dish, she turned to face him. I said okay. If you think he's ready, then he's ready. Naruto just stared at her, trying to see or feel if something else was going on. I trust you with mine and Izu life, and if you believe he's ready, then I'll trust you. I know how much time you've put in training him, and if you are 100% sure, I'll be right beside you. All he could do was smile, bringing her into a hug. How did I find such an amazing woman as yourself? I'm pretty sure it was your cooking that won me over. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Since you like jokes so much, laugh at this. Before she run, Naruto had gotten behind her, hands low and fingers at the ready, and attacked her sides. Street. Ha ha. Stop. Ha ha. Nah. Nar. Ha ha Yudo. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Inko laughed, trying to get away from him. The fun has only begun, Inko-chan. He whispered in her ear, a smile making its way on his face. When school was finally over, Izuku was surprised to find his father waiting outside the gate, as if waiting for him. How long has it been since I was picked up, huh? Naruto only grabbed him by the neck and brought him in, messing up his already messy hair. Can't I pick up my son? That was when he saw the serious look cross his face. I need to tell you something. Nodding, they headed towards the nearest alleyway. We planned on waiting a few more years, but I believe you're ready, son. With a quick wave of his hand, a large oval purple portal appeared in front of them. Follow me, your mom is already waiting for us. It was a weird feeling for Izuku when he stepped through. Like his body was going faster than his mind, it made him a little dizzy too. Once getting his bearings set, he took in his surroundings, surprised by the new addition in their workout area. A 1-story house made out of dark brown wood, and he would have missed it if it wasn't for the fact he had familiarized himself with the area. While it was small, it also blended well within all the trees, which he was glad for, since it was a secret base for him. She should be done with the setup. Snapping out of his musing, Izuku realized he didn't know what they were doing, especially with his mother, since she hadn't really been involved much with his training, believing Naruto was all he needed while she focused on making food for them. What exactly are we doing, father? Remember how I said we were going to wait till you were older, but because you have been adapting so well with my workout plan and teaching, I figured you were more than ready. Plus the fact I have a bad feeling, but I don't want to worry you too, he thought, glancing at the bracelet they had gotten him for his birthday. It had miniature chibi of all three of them, by far his favorite gift he had ever gotten. Ready for what the hell? Walking in what he thought was a small house, was actually bigger than what the outside was, even for it being a one-story house. It had furniture and pictures of the three of them, it even looked different from the plain look it had. The wood was waxed and shined with the lights he could not spot, the walls were of the same, smooth to the touch. He could even spot a few windows when he couldn't find any outside. Language. Not at all surprised at Izuku's expression since he had not shown his son much of his power, and only showed him when explaining how something worked or was done. But that was the exact same expression Inko-chan had when I showed her. It's a space-time seal, which is very complex and hard to learn. Space and time, as in, Naruto stopped Izuku before he could go into mumbling mode, as he and Inko like to call it. Yes, I am able to bend space and time, but it's time-consuming and takes a toll on my chakra reserves. With that out of the way, Naruto began to lead him through the house and stopped in front of a door. It was definitely different from the others as it was blended well within the wall. As Naruto opened the door, the greenette could see what looked like stairs leading down the dim room. Follow me. It was quiet as the duo walked down the stairs, which he soon found out were a lot, and reached what he assumed was the bottom when he saw another door. Izuku had seen his father serious before, but never to this degree. It was like he was going to war or something. Is everything alright, Dad? Yeah, I'm just nerves is all. Opening the door, Izuku was in complete shock at what he saw. The room was massive and was filled with books, scrolls, signs, plants, and so much more. What is all this? For almost 5 years I have been teaching you, getting you prepared for the day you receive your hard-earned reward. It didn't take long for him to understand what he meant. You mean, is that even possible? Theoretical. It'll be near possible for you to have chakra, as it is a foreign energy that is not of this world, but there's a way for you to achieve it. By remodeling your circulatory system and getting it used to the raw and dense energy, your body should be able to adapt to it. It'll take a few long and painful days, and the chances of it actually working is only 50-50 at best. Izuku took all this in, looking in Naruto's eyes. He had always been fascinated by them, with how they could hold so much emotion that words were not needed, and he could see he was scared but also confident. 50-50 ain't bad but not good either, and even then, it all comes down to how strong my body and will is. Looking back at Naruto, his father, he remembered how he had changed their lives. For almost 5 years he had made me and Mom happy, made her happier than I've ever seen her. He cared about us and believed in me. He believed in that he has been training me all this time. Clenching his fists, he faced his father with the most determined smile he could pull. Even if it hurts, if it means I'm able to protect you and Mom, then I'll gladly take the days of pain to gain the ability. Naruto only chuckled at him. I figured you'd say that, so why don't we get started? It was then a door opened behind Naruto. Everything is prepared, Naruto-kun, son. Inko said, wiping sweat from her forehead. Thanks, Inko-chan, I'll take over the rest. Why don't you go and inform the school of Izuku's absence for the rest of the week and hang out with Mitsuki? She's already upset I've taken up most of her time spending with you. Inko chuckled but nodded, knowing how angry her ash-blonde-haired friend had been after a week of no contact. She had shown up when Izuku was at school and barged on them while they were wrestling, nudge nudge wink wink, and it was an embarrassing moment for all three of them. Sure. Just give me a call when you two are done. I'll make sure to prepare some of the best food I can too, she said, heading up the stairs. Will Mom be okay? We're pretty far in the woods and it'll be dark by the time she gets back into the city. Izuku wasn't blind to his mother's beauty, and the way some men would leer at her in pervs ways. Don't worry, I placed a seal on her purse and shirt. If anyone so much as tries to hurt her or get too close without permission, then they will be casted into a very powerful genjutsu temporarily. Now let's go. We need as much time as possible for this. Entering the room, Izuku could see how much time and thought went into this, as he could see notes and diagrams, along with some medical equipment in the room. Now strip and lay down on the table. For this to work, I need to be able to see every inch of your body systems. This wasn't the first time he had to do this, as Naruto had helped him get rid of most of his insecurities this way, and to make sure his muscles and posture were perfect. Laying on the gray metal table, Naruto walked up and placed his hand on his head. Don't worry, I'll be placing you under a powerful sleep and pain-resistant genjutsu, but it'll only do so much. This will take at least 48 hours, and it'll leave me with 3/10 of my reserves left, and you feel weak for at least a day. Placing the genjutsu on him, he gave his son one last piece of advice before he fell unconscious. Whenever you feel uncertain or scared, just remember me and your mother will always believe in you. Once Izuku was out, he began the procedure. I need to first make sure his heart will be able to handle the energy of chakra, then unblock his tenketsu and give him a small amount to see if it'll flow in his body. From there, I'll need to let it flow to each of the organs one at a time while making sure nothing gets damaged, or if damaged gets healed right away. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto spent 2 hours working on Izuku's heart, with clones keeping watch over his heartbeat, blood pressure and brain waves. I need to form a center, a starting point, so that the chakra can slowly surround it, and while I produce it with a steady flow, 2 clones can unblock his tenketsu 5 minutes apart from each other. While they are doing that, I'll need a clone at each organ so that they can make sure there's no abnormalities. It took a total of 30 hours to unblock all 361 tenketsu points. During those 30 hours, the Naruto clones were continuously keeping watch on the chakra flow. He was honestly surprised at how accepting his body had on chakra, but he needed to keep his mind focused, just in case. Now for the hardest part, getting the chakra to flow at a greater output. He currently has high genin level reserves, so I now need to pump as much chakra his body will allow him to hold at the moment. Increasing the amount of chakra he's giving Izuku, he was also making sure there wasn't a problem with it traveling throughout his body. So far so good, he's rising past high genin level. He's going to need control training like no tomorrow, haha shit. One of the tenketsu got overflowed. If I can't stop it, it'll explode. Clone 1 and 3 hurry and unclog that blockage, carefully. The rest you'll keep the flow steady, we don't want to rush his chakra to expand too quickly. Nodding to their boss, the original, they quickly but carefully increased the flow speed, making sure it gets the chakra moving before nodding to the original. Thank God. You too, keep an eye out for any more blockage. Receiving a hi, boss. Naruto concentrated on finishing. 15 hours later, Naruto started to heal Izuku of all cuts and bloodstains that happened to appear. It wasn't long before he woke up, feeling the pain of the bright light and the massive pain from his body. Green hands appeared over his head and chest. Izuku could slightly crack his eyes open. I'm relaxing your body to reduce the pain. We don't want you to move as much as it is. How? He tried to say, only for Naruto to cut him off. Trust me, don't talk. You need to get as much rest as possible. You're in too much pain to sleep, and now with chakra it'll be hard to put up under another genjutsu without any damage done. All he got was a pained smile and closed eyes before Izuku relaxed the best he could. You'll need at least a few days to replenish the amount of chakra you lost to Naruto. You did this with just your chakra, knowing ours would be too much for him. You now have 2/10 of your original power left, if that. Much worse than what you said. I gave him as much as I could and how much his body could accept, and as a father, it's my duty to give my all to him. They could imagine pride on his face, seeing as how he could now train Izuku in the arts of shinobi. He didn't care if Izuku went hero or not, as long as he got the power to protect this family and friends, then it is all he could ask for. As the 24 hours of pain and discomfort dragged on, Izuku could speak a bit more without pain and was in and out of sleep now, mainly due to his body working on still understanding the new and improved system. Once Izuku was at a certain point, Naruto stopped what he was doing and had one of his clones bring a chair over before collapsing onto it. He didn't know when he fell asleep, but when he opened his eyes, he could see his son trying to sit up. Here, let me help. You will find it hard trying to move, but it should only be for a few more hours. Grabbing him by the back on his knees and neck, he began to walk up towards the main part of the house. For now on, every day after school and on weekends we will be here, where I will teach you everything I know. The room with all that stuff, it's from my world. Once you get better, it'll be all yours. But why? Aren't those important to you? Naruto chuckled at his son, knowing he was once right. Don't get wrong, they are still important to me, but I found something even more important than objects of the past. Naruto didn't explain or anything, letting Izuku come up with his own answer. Now that you can move fully, we first need to get your chakra under control. I was able to give you extremely high-level reserves, but even with the huge amount I have, it's useless if I can't utilize it properly, and could cause me and others to be in danger. Izuku said, remembering Naruto demonstrating the difference in chakra power on many trees. Good to know you still remember. Now, what was one of our first lessons on chakra? Naruto said, sipping on some jasmine tea. I need to first understand it before I can do anything with it, and the best way to do that is to practice chakra control and meditate. Izuku wasn't sure about the meditate part, but seeing Naruto nod gave him relief. And that's where we're going to start with. Come, we shall start with the leaf concentration exercise first. 30 minutes later. Keep your back straight. Knees better not past your toes. Arms are dropping. Pick them up. Naruto shouted at Izuku. When they first started the leaf concentration exercise, he had gotten it after a few minutes of doing it. Now he was in a horse stance with a leaf on his head, 3 on his arms and upper legs. They had been going at it for the past 25 minutes, and Izuku was straining from it. He could normally stay like this for hours, but now with circulating chakra, he was going to collapse soon. After another 5 minutes, Naruto had him take a break. The leaves flew away in the air. Not bad, son. You not only got it within the first 5 minutes, but to hold it for 30 minutes like that, not even a few hours after getting chakra. Man, call me impressed. Izuku beamed as he was praised, but laid flat on his back, tired still. We'll do this for a few weeks before moving on. After catching your breath, head for the stream and cool off. We still have studying to do. Fuinjutsu is a dangerous but very versatile art that takes years to learn, decades to even try to master it. You have to have quilty penmanship, knowledge in basic kanji and hand signs, and knowing how to regulate your chakra. If even one of these things aren't good enough, you can destroy everything in the process. We won't be working on actual seals yet, but to let you know what you need. Naruto said, before reaching for some books he had the desk. I'm going to need you to read all of these. These have history lessons on the founding of chakra and clans, and important members of each of them. These scrolls, reaching for a stack of 5, have specific exercises I'm going to need to look at and practice on your own when I'm out. You're going to have to learn to do these things on your own from time to time, but I'll continue to help you with chakra training until I believe you're ready to go on your own. Izuku could understand, since he can't always rely on him for everything when it comes to training. He would eventually move out, and he knew that his mother had been wanting to travel, so they wouldn't always be together. So far the next few days Izuku was put through hell, both physically and mentally. He would sleep from 10 to 1 in the morning, then do physical training till 8, have an hour to cool down and rest before Naruto began his studies at 9 to 12. By the time they finished lunch it would be 12:30, which they would do chakra training till 9. After a quick dinner and bath, Izuku was out cold when he hit the bed. Izuku went to school the next week, which he was glad they had no homework. It's been 2 weeks since that day, and Izuku's birthday was right around the corner. He was really excited about it, as he had overheard his mother and Naruto talk about hero-related things. It was the day before his birthday and had the day off, Naruto saying something about an early present or something. Izuku had left that day at 8 and everything else was a blur to him, and everyone could see he was happy about something, more than normal. Before he knew it, school was over and he was out the door, heading towards the training grounds. He wanted to get in some light workout time before going home. He was surprised to see his father come out of the house, looking a little tired and drained but smiled at him nonetheless. "What are you doing out here? I gave you the next 2 days off." "I know, but I thought I would do a light workout throw, just so I don't lose a day of training." Naruto only smiled at him, glad he was training even on days off. "Why don't I join you? We can do a few miles then stretch and jog home, we haven't trained together in a while anyways." Not arguing with him, Izuku followed Naruto as they ran through the woods. "What were you doing out here anyways? I thought you would have been with Mom," he said as they round a corner. "It's a surprise, you'll have to wait for tomorrow." "Come on, can't I get a little hint?" Izuku tried to do the puppy dog eyes on him, but Naruto shook his head no. "You need to have patience, son, or else you'll run into a problem with no time to think." Arriving home, they were greeted by a delicious smell of food that had them practically bursting through the door. They were laughing at one of Izuku's embarrassing moments when he was younger, when Naruto felt someone dangerous coming. He was too late, as the front of the apartment exploded, sending the three of them away. Naruto had blocked most of the shock and burns that threatened to pass and get to the two greenette. "Are you two okay?" Naruto said, appearing by their side, hands growing green. It was then that he heard footsteps make its way inside, and sensed the powerful chakra he was emitting. "So you're the one who killed Kagaya, can't see how but she was weak to begin with." Naruto stood in front of the two, a sword appearing in his hand. "Who are you and what do you want?" The man said nothing as the smoke soon cleared, Naruto realizing who this man was due to Kagaya's memories. "I am one of the 3 gods that rule the Otsutsuki clan, and I'm here to deliver punishment upon which the crime you have committed." "This is bad news, Naruto. He's Otsutsuki Ashiki, one of the top 3 leaders, and one of the reasons why Kagaya was on Earth to begin with. It's funny how we accepted him into our home, but we didn't care. He was warm and trusting, and his smile always brightened up our day. We had so many memories, me, Mom and him, we had the bestest of times whenever he was around. He was the reason I continued to become a hero. He was the reason my mom found love again. It's funny, he would always say, I never break a promise. It's my ninja way. We knew he told the truth as he had never broken a promise before, he always keep his promises. No matter what." Naruto was currently holding a long, thin sword in his hand, eyes forced on the enemy in front of him. "Izuku." He heard his name being called. Quote. "I need you to grab your mother and wait for my signal. When I get him away, you run to Mizuki's house." "Got it." Izuku was still dazed from the explosion, so it was hard for him to think straight. "Izuku. Do you hear me?" That seemed to snap his mind into place. "What about you?" Izuku said, looking up at Naruto's back. He could hear Naruto chuckle before he got lower and tightened his grip. "I promised, didn't I?" And just like that, Naruto appeared behind the Otsutsuki and slashed down, only to be stopped by his hand. "That's not going to work on me, I can see your movements." For an unknown reason, Naruto was getting irritated at his calm and overconfident voice. "I just needed to get behind you." And they were gone, leaving the two in the burning house. It was then that heroes started to arrive on the scene, rescuing the people from their room they were trapped in. Deep in the forest, a loud explosion shocked the ground and uprooted the surrounding trees. "He's too strong. We need another approach than up-close attacks." "I know, but if he's anything like Kagaya then he can absorb and send back my chakra attacks. I don't know how to even beat this guy, he can practically predict my every move with his eyes." Naruto had no idea how to go about winning this, he was already getting his ass kicked as it was. There might be a way, but it's a 99% guaranteed death after use. Is this all you got? I'm truly disappointed. I thought you would be strong, but it seems that you just got lucky. He cast his eyes as Naruto stood up from the created, his wounds already healed. Don't worry, after I kill you I'll send those two to you. You will not touch them. Kurama. It was then that Ashiki felt it, power that was on par if not rivaled his own, come from the man. The amount of power Naruto now held was so much that the ground cracked and trembled, the air seemed scared as it shook due to the pure pressure of it all. The Otsutsuki god watched as Naruto was covered in what looked like a cloak of chakra, but was something he had never seen before. Naruto stood at 6.5 feet tall, his white hair was a mixture of colors and his eyes shined, his Byakugan and Rinne Sharingan blazing with power, anger and determination. His clothes also changed from his normal white t-shirt and black Anbu pants to a long white cloak that split off into what looked like 9 different tails. Each tail was one tail of each biju, having a color glow to them. His whisker marks got bigger and bolder, and Naruto was amazed at the amount of power he now had. You have only 10 minutes in this form, and in that time you cannot waste any movements as it is combining all 10 of our chakra together. Understanding the importance of what Kurama said, Naruto dashed to meet Otsutsuki and punched him to the ground. Impossible. I can't see him move in that hit, I felt like he took some of my chakra. Ashiki thought, wiping the blood from his mouth. Before he could stand up, Naruto appeared above him and delivered his sword into the ground where Ashiki barely moved in time. And that was how it went. With each solid hit upon Ashiki, he felt more and more of his chakra fading and something else. While Ashiki was able to land some solid hits, Naruto would instantly heal and change again. 8 minutes had passed, and while Ashiki was tired, bruised and bloody, he could tell Naruto was on his last legs. Naruto himself knew he wouldn't be able to last much longer either, as he prepared his most powerful and last move, using as much chakra left. This will be your last attack you will be able to make, Naruto. Kurama's voice rang in his head. What better way than to go out using my most precious jutsu combined with all 9 of you in it? Suddenly his cloak-like tails all started to grow and stretch, growing as big as the trees that now no longer surrounded the area. Focusing the last of his chakra, Naruto began to form a round circle, each with a different element and color. It only took a few seconds before he finished preparing his jutsu. Oh, how they radiated power and destruction, and Ashiki could see it too. Less than a minute left. Gotta hurry. Blood leaked out the side of his mouth, splashing on the ground. This was it. This was his final moment. Bending his knees, Naruto began soaring through the air towards Ashiki, who in turn was flying towards him, a black staff in his hands aimed at his enemy. It was then that he saw him, outside the destroyed area at the tree line. Izuku, he thought, a smile forming on his face, as he remembered something. It had been a year after he started to become part of the Midoriya family, and they were all having a family picnic. Naruto and Izuku were carrying the picnic things following Inko, who seemed to be looking for a great place to sit down and eat. How come you're not a hero even though you're strong? Izuku said, stepping over a tree root. Naruto chuckled at, fixing his gaze at the woman in front of him, then to the small child beside him. What makes a hero isn't their strength or speed or even quirk, everyone has their limits and that's alright, we're human. But what makes a hero is his or her dedication to saving people with put anything in reward, and helping out those who are weaker than others. He then corrected his gaze up at the sky, a sad smile on his face. I'm not a hero because I have the physical characteristics of one, but because I don't need to be one. I have you and Inko-chan to take care of, and that's all that matters. Izuku thought about what he said, and Naruto could sense his confusion. Let me tell you something, there is only one way to become strong, and is something you hold always remember. If fight for someone, those that are precious to you, then you can become truly strong. Always remember that, Izuku. Fight for those that are important to you. Izuku nodded, grinning at the older man. This is the perfect spot, boy, let's set up and eat. Inko said to them, pointing to a clearing up ahead. It's for them. It's so he can achieve his dream. It's so Inko could see her son and know he was alright. It's so. It's so they can live another day. Forbidden Art. 9 Bijudama Resenshuriken. Earlier, Izuki had seen his father disappear and took this time to grab his mother and bring her outside, carrying her in his hands. Once outside, Izuku could see ambulances and police cars encircle the front of the building, while some water-based heroes controlled the fire and others healing the injured. A hero was running up to them as they had seen Izuki carry his mother out of the building. He quickly handed her over to one of the heroes he recognized but was still shocked by what he had just witnessed. He finally snapped out of it when he felt a hand shake him a little, seeing that the hero was trying to talk to him. Are you okay, young man? Oh. Ah. He didn't know what to say or do, but one word seemed to cross mind at that time. Dad. And he was off, chakra pumping through his legs. He didn't know where they would have gone, but it seemed like his legs knew, so he ran in whatever direction they did. He arrived far out into the woods and he could hear faint explosions and how the ground trembled along. Going towards where the explosions were getting louder, he could also feel such tremendous power that rivaled the mysterious man that suddenly appeared. Izuku could make out what looked to be the end of the tree line, and stopped just out there. He saw the area burden of any life and the air felt different, like it was afraid. He looked up where he saw two powerful and frightening people, Otsutsuki Ashiki and Uzumaki Naruto. Izuku could tell he looked different, but he was focused on the jutsu Naruto was using and how it radiated power. That was when he heard it. It's so they can live another day. Forbidden Art. 9 Bijudama Resenshuriken. What came next was silence before an explosion erupted, shaking the ground and nearest city to its core. Izuku was flown back by the shock wave that followed and he could feel the destructive power, before it stopped. After a few seconds, Izuku was sprinting toward the explosion and scared out of his mind. Only one thought was floating in his mind. Please be okay, Dad. As he arrived, he could make out Naruto in the far distance. Once he arrived by his side, Izuku went to his knees, eyes looking over him. He was relieved to see the man he had come to call father cracked open his eyes and speak in a quiet voice. I promised to protect you too, his voice strained and tired. You did it. I knew you could. Tears sliding down his face. Naruto let out a forced chuckle, wincing by the pain in his chest. I wanted to see you grow into a proud and amazing man, cough cough. I wanted to spend more time with Inko, to see you too, smile and laugh, tears now sliding down his face, staring at the sky that was beginning to be covered by dark clouds. What are you saying? Of course you will, Mom, and you going to take her to Paris. Remember, watch me become a hero, choking on his words, as if he was denying the truth of it all. You still have to protect us, promised. Please, he shouted, burying his head into Naruto's chest. Rain started to pour down on the two, as if the world was crying itself. You know, your birthday, it's today. I don't care, I just want you to stay with us. I can't do that. Son, cough cough. Your present, it's in the desk, in the basement. I finished it yesterday. It might look small, but it'll grow on you, cough cough. There's also a gift, a small box, for Inko. Give it to her, okay? Naruto chuckled, coughing a bit more. Izuku only gripped his shirt harder. There's one more present that I have to give you. Having what little chakra he had left, Naruto's 5 fingers glowed a little blue before he pressed them on Izuku's chest. Uzumaki sealing art. Extraction transfer. Izuku's whole body started to burn up. Pain riddled through his body as if something was entering his body forcefully. They will guide you on your path. Cough cough. Goodbye everyone. Naruto closed his eyes and a smile on his lips, and for a moment everything stopped. His body started to illuminate, turning into thousands upon thousands of tiny sparkles that rose up into the parted sky before everything resumed again. When Izuku opened his eyes, he noticed that he was in an extremely white room that smelled of disinfecting chemicals. He could also hear light snoring sounds on his left, where he saw an all too familiar green hair. Mom. He wasn't exactly sure what had happened as his mind was still too foggy to remember anything. It seemed that she had woken up due to his whisper, something she had now grown used to. Izuku, you're awake. She cried as she hugged him with all her might. He chuckled at his mother's behavior, but hugged her all the same. It was after they separated that he noticed there was a person missing, Naruto, and his chest hurt thinking about it. Why does my chest feel heavy and cold? Inko didn't know what to say. She hadn't come to terms with it and she doubted she'll ever move on from him. Naruto was what she would call a soulmate. Naruto. She was honestly lost for words, not knowing what actually happened to him. Quote. He is currently missing. It's been 2 weeks since the incident, honey. She wanted to cry, to break down and hide forever, but she couldn't, not when her baby boy was currently going to go through. Izuku looked confused, before he started to remember everything. The mysterious man, the house exploding, then the fight and, he's gone, he promised to protect us. And he did, but, tears sliding down his face, and Inko could understand what he meant. So for the rest of the afternoon they cried for him, the man who gave them happiness, the man they called father and lover, their shinobi hero. It was another week before Izuku left the hospital heading to their new home, since their apartment complex was destroyed and everything in it. He was currently laying on his bed looking at photos and videos of him, not wanting to forget the man who gave him hope. He was scrolling till he landed a photo of them. They were standing in front of a house surrounded by trees and it took him a few seconds before he remembered. I can't do that. Son, cough cough. Your present. It's in the desk, in the basement. I finished it yesterday. It might look small, but it'll grow on you. Asterisk cough cough. There's also a gift, a small box, for Inko. Give it to her, okay? Izuku realized that he had forgotten about it due to his death and being in the hospital, but he knew he needed to know. He grabbed a random shirt that was on the ground and quickly ran out of his room to find his mom washing dishes. Mom. Not even 5 minutes later were they out of the house and driving towards the last place that held any meaning of Naruto. It took 30 minutes for them to arrive at the woods and another 20 of walking till they saw it, the house he built. As they got closer they felt a presence go past them, and in front of them stood him. He was smiling back at them before he entered the house and it took them a second before they quickly approached the door and entered. Everything was the same, not a speck of dust or mold. The floor was shiny clean and the inside still shone bright, the furniture was still where it was since he had seen it. He could see the pictures of the three of them, all when he was younger and the earlier years Naruto was with them. They then looked to the hidden door and saw him again before disappearing down below, and they followed. It was weird as they could practically feel him within the house, his calm and radiating energy seeping into their very hearts. As they traveled down the stairs, they stayed quiet and just stayed focused. As they opened the door and walked in, they saw the desk and the gifts wrapped. One was a box no bigger than the palm of a hand, it was wrapped up in white paper with blue roses, her favorite. The other one was bigger and was wrapped in hero paper, a note was attached to it. The small one, he said it was for you. Izuku said, grabbing it and handing it to her, before he turned his attention to the other wrapped gift. As his hand reached for it, his hand hesitated, nerves eating at his heart. Calming down he laid his hand down and carefully ripped the paper and opened the box's flaps. Tears and wide eyes as he saw the last gift he would ever get him, the last and most precious gift he would most likely ever get. He slowly lowered down his hands and grabbed the first object on top, which happened to be a midnight black cloak without the hood. Underneath that was black baggy pants that Naruto always wore and a sleeveless shirt that had a face cover that covered his mouth and below. Under all of that was another gift wrapped in white paper, and he could tell it wasn't clothes. As he grabbed it, Izuku could tell it was made of hard material but was light as a feather and curved around the ends. It was a plain gray color mask that fit Izuku's face perfectly when he tried it on. It was comfortable and he could see right through it. Wait, what? I can see through it. Taking it off, he noticed a note at the very bottom folded and addressed to him. Dear son, happy 10th birthday. In case something happens and I'm not around at the moment, this will help explain the outfit. With you having chakra, normal hero clothes and gears won't be of any good, so I made you a hero suit myself. I understand if you don't want to wear it, but if you are, then here. The clothes are specially made to grow with your body and withstand damage from outside forces as well chakra attacks. The mask is see-through thanks to a seal written on it. It will allow you to eat and drink with it on too. Cool, right? Anyways, it will also allow for voice changes, and it can even take the face of animals, something I thought would be cool to have. The color scheme is based of shinobi wear on my world, to help blend in and easy to move around. You did say the cloak I wear was cool, so I made one for you, just without a hood. Again happy B-Day son. Thanks father. I'll wear it for you and all that you have trusted in me. I swear on my life of a hero, I'll inherit your nindo and your legacy will not go in vain. Few minutes ago, Inko was handed a small gift box from her son, and she knew it was from Naruto due to how it was wrapped. Only you will do something so corny, but I love that about you. Wiping a tear, she started to unwrap to find a box that had a fake blue rose on the top of a black box. Unlike her son, she opened it carefully and her eyes widened. Inside were two simple red and blue rings of different sizes, with a folded knot attached to the inside of the top. Take 5. Midoriya Inko, for the past few years, you and your son have opened a world I never knew about, and I don't mean in the literal new world thing. You gave me home, food, and a friend within your son. I don't remember when I fell for you, but I'm positive it was from the first time I saw you and how you cared so much for Izuku. Over time, we started dating and it was the best time for me. What I'm trying to say is, will you marry? While she wanted to laugh at how he could be an idiot, the overwhelming feeling to cry was too great. She took both rings in her shaky hands and held them close to her heart, promising to always hold them close to her at all times. You will be the only man for me, Naruto. I'll raise our son to the best of my abilities, supporting him in anything he wants, just like you would have. Inko was on her knees crying, but she was happy they had something other than pictures and videos. Now they have something physically connected to him. It took them a while to calm down, but stray tears still fell. They were about to head out when Izuku remembered there was another letter, one that's addressed to both of them. He told Inko and she nodded, deciding to read and most likely cry in the living room. Dear son and lover, if you are both reading this, then sorry. I'm sorry for all the pain, sadness, or even anger you may have towards me, but I want you to understand it was not either of you. Inko and Izuku were standing in front of the house with smiles on their faces before heading back through the woods. I just want you two to know that it has been my happiest when I was with you. You both were my everything and always will be. As they got in and started driving, they had small smiles and tears in their eyes, but determination and hope within them too. I fear that someone is coming for me, which might end up involving you two, something I don't have the heart to want. Dad was the best when we felt scared and alone, and even now, he still managed to help us see the light. I wish I could spend more time with you two and make more precious memories. Naruto was always caring and kind, but you should have seen it when someone tried to hit on me. He was so mad that I almost felt kinda sorry for the poor man. I wanted to protect you both with my entire being, but now that I'm writing this, I know you two will know how to handle this. Here, he would have wanted you to have it. So I guess it's time to say goodbye. Are you sure it's fine? It was left for you, mother. Goodbye, Inko. Izuku. I'm sure. After all, she started. I love you too and always will. He loved us. He finished. Thank you.